Today's podcast is about self-forgiveness. Let me tell you what self-forgiveness means to me. There are times in life where we may do something and may not have used good judgment, and in doing so, we get caught up in bad situations. Once you finally get out of that situation, you may feel bad and say something like, I should have known better, or how did I get here? These will bring up bad emotions that make you feel bad about yourself, and in these moments, you have to learn to forgive yourself. You are human and you will make mistakes, and although we do, we have to learn from them and grow from them in order to do what you have to in order to forgive yourself. And part of the problem is if we fail to forgive ourselves, we could end up in a state of regret. There are moments in our life where we deeply regret to not have known what the right action to take was. There will always be moments where within a few seconds we had to evaluate a situation with insufficient knowledge. We didn't have all the facts. We didn't know what was going on. We were misguided or misled. And unfortunately, because of the huge benefit of hindsight and time, we conclude that we would have done something very different. And if only we could have redone such moments, life would have been almost unrecognizable from what it is today. I suppose when you say something like, redo these moments, that would be like going into a time machine to go back in time and fix something, undo something, warn yourself. And then we would never really, regret would never exist. There would be no need for self-forgiveness. But unfortunately, time machines do not exist. And we can easily put ourselves into a situation where, you can't turn back the hands of time. You can't change what has been done. And if you don't forgive yourself, then you'll live with regret. There are just times you have to forgive yourselves, and it does feel good to let go of regret. Well, thank you for listening, but before I let you go, let's talk about a little bit more than just regret. Why is it wrong, or what could go wrong if you never forgive yourself? Now, I believe it is wrong to not forgive yourself because you would be denying yourself your inherent worthiness. Being human is beautiful. We are emotional animals. Unfortunately, we're not very logical animals. But being human means learning. It means to know better. It means to get better, to become the better version of who you were yesterday. To share what you've learned, your knowledge and wisdom, to humankind, your children and your fellow humans. Another reason it's important to be able to forgive yourself is so that you can make mistakes. To learn is to make mistakes. If you go into every situation too self-conscious, too afraid, you're too worried about making mistakes, and then so you don't take these risks, you never grow, and because you're just too worried about the risk of regret. If you can learn to forgive yourself, then you can remove that fear, and you can go out there and take great leaps of faith in whatever your endeavors are. But if you're going to be crippled with fear and anxiety and the fear of putting yourself in a situation where you would regret and you can never forgive yourself, then it will always be hard to grow. if we can just learn to forgive ourselves and remove that fear of making mistakes, then we truly put ourselves in a position to learn. And learn from our mistakes. Sure, you could just repeat from others' experiences and draw wisdom from the experiences of other people, and that's fine. Maybe you have a wise mentor who was definitely not a perfect person, but they can give you counsel you and give you advice on what to do, what's the right course of action to take, the wrong course of action to take, and you can learn from them, and that's fine. That's a great way to grow. But that is a safe way to grow, but that's not why you're here. That's not why you're listening to this podcast. Because I guess ultimately other people's mistakes are not your own experiences. Maybe somebody did something they weren't supposed to, and self-forgiveness, that's their issue. And maybe we can learn something from their experiences. I would think that the only one that would never make any mistakes, the only person who would be so flawless and perfect, they would have to be some kind of God, and that never makes a mistake. So the fear of, again, making mistakes or putting yourself in a position to regret what you did or put yourself in a position to have to forgive yourself, that would not exist. But again, that's not realistic, and we are humans, and we humans make a lot of mistakes. And we should try to learn from them. And in doing so, we actually become more and more aware of ourselves, your strengths and your weaknesses, and the world. It's about growth. I think never forgiving yourself actually probably shows a lack of awareness and humbleness. Just remember, being human means making a mistake and learning. It's a flawed aspect of our existence, of our biology. We're never going to be perfect, but by learning, we become more aware. We can become more empathetic and become kinder towards others. You need that self-awareness. You need to be able to do that self-forgiveness. Make a few mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I think it will make you a kinder person, make you a more empathetic person. When you don't forgive yourself, that says you don't accept that you made mistakes, and that's part of the process of being human. That says you perceive yourself as some kind of person who isn't, or who will not accept making a mistake. Now, all of these questions I asked are posed. There's never really a right or a wrong answer. But I do think if you refuse to forgive yourself, or you won't let you forgive yourself, you might find it difficult to grow. And I'm saying all this, I promise you, I personally am very far from perfect. And always have a little bit of room for self-forgiveness. Thank you for listening, and please consider subscribing.